Finding wisdom in a world of uncertainty, knowledge and beliefs are being put to the test in new ways we have not yet faced in today's society. Where have you turned to for wisdom and guidance? Where do you turn to? What do you turn on? What do you turn off? Is this wisdom and faith setting you up for where you see yourself in the future? Or are you currently making adjustments? Who do you want to be when you grow up? How do you get there? We all have different life experiences that have led us down different paths, but ultimately, it is up to us to choose where we pull our wisdom from for our life goals. With the world spinning so fast, let's take a minute to slow down and process if this is where we thought we would be on our wisdom and faith journey. This is part two of Finding Wisdom, the anniversary of a year of uncertainty and unknown fear, grief, loss, and forced change is fast approaching. Our world has changed. So many things have been out of our control and had a major impact on all of our lives. So, to continue discussing our Finding Wisdom discussion part two, let's jump right into our questions to discuss today. Andy, would you kick us off with this first question? What fears or anxieties do you struggle with in your faith and wisdom journey?
Absolutely. Thank you, Joy, for kicking us off and for that great intro. So, I had written down that the opposite of fear is love. So, when I think of fear, I think my biggest fears are in relation to loss. I instantaneously think of the people who maybe have left my life or our lives a little too soon. And for me, that was my grandparents. So, my
Mm.
mom's parents, and then also my dad's parents as well. And I think the fear for me is loving them so much and then losing them. So the fear is loss of time. The fear is not maximizing the time that you have with them. So I would say a lot of my fears are in relation to loss, and that's losing the people that are closest to me. So my grandparents, of course. So Jake and I had 6 candles at our sweetheart table at our wedding, which represented his grandparents and then my grandparents as well. We truly knew and believed that they were right there with us, and they were giving us hugs and they were sending us all the love on our special day. I think it's just reveling in those memories and taking advantage of the time that you have. I would say 3 to 4 years ago, I wasn't sure if a very important person was going to walk me down the aisle as well. And so learning from that, that you have to take every moment that you can possibly take with that person and strengthening and deepening those relationships as well. So I would say a lot of my fears in relation to loss. So losing the people that are closest to me. I also think that at one point in time, courage was described to me very well. And this has really stuck with me too, which is courage equals fear plus action. So I think that's always been a mantra or a guide or something that I've been able to, maybe wisdom that I've been able to lean on when I'm moving into those fearful moments or when I feel like I'm scared or things are uncertain. So I would say loss is probably one of my biggest fears.
Thank you so much, Andy, for sharing your thoughts. Carly, what fears and anxieties do you struggle with in your faith and wisdom journey?
First of all, thank you, Andy, for sharing that. Loss is definitely, I would say that's a common fear and anxiety for everyone. I would say I have some fear and anxiety just about my children as they have aged and wanting them to find the faith and wisdom of their own, for them to follow their own journey in the way that they want to pursue it. And sometimes as a parent, that's hard to let them do. But that's maybe an anxiety. Did I instill the right things in them? Did I teach them the right things? Did I, give them, put upon them some kind of anxieties of my own that they've embodied now as their own? And how do they work through where they're having some challenges? But so I would say just around my children, wanting to be sure that they remain happy and healthy and find those things for themselves and are able to travel on their own path. I would say just from being where I'm at in my life, I'm in my early 50s and not having regrets necessarily, but having some fear and anxiety of, oh, can I do this? Is this okay? Am I able to take these steps? And then just really checking with myself, well, why the heck not? Why what's standing in my way? What it's just me and maybe some preconceived ideas that I have and what's really possible. And really nothing is impossible. You just have to find a way to do it. So I would say maybe as a new entrepreneurial business adventure that I'm on, being that person, I definitely say would see fear and anxieties that pop up and just being able, as Andy referenced, having the courage to step through them. And action does solve a lot of that. If you, even if it's the teeniest, tiniest little baby step and you dip your toe outside of that comfort
Mhm.
zone, you all of a sudden figure out it's not that scary out here. I can do this. And then you move forward into the next place. And that's a faith and wisdom journey too, is just being able to move into new places that you didn't feel comfortable before. And if you stay there long enough, you do get comfortable. And then it's on to the next stretch of yourself to move into the next place where you're not that comfortable.
I
So
love that, Carly.
thanks.
Well said.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And I can't imagine the fears and anxieties that you have to go through with adult children growing up and making sure that you did all your best. You said all the right things, you made sure to do all those things. But I can assure you, you have done a phenomenal job. So you should feel very proud of where you're at.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we need to recognize Joyce. Little man is popping up for all of you moms out there. This is real life as a mom of a almost 4-year-old, 3.5+ year old. It's supposedly nap time, but it's not always working out that way. So we may have some little background words, and that's okay. Just so you know. So if Joy, if you need a break right now, we can, and then we can.
Let me pause here just for a second.
I was almost ready to say we've got a heavy breather here.
Mommy, you are trouble.
That was so cute.
Okay, listeners. So we just took a little break for Joy to settle her little man. And now she's going to tell us what fears and anxieties she struggles with in her faith and wisdom journey.
Thank you for the graceful transition and the patience of my little man. I appreciate it. Okay, so my biggest fears and anxieties of wisdom and my faith. I think for me is control. Control is a big thing for me. I want to be in control. I want to feel like I have control. I want to feel like decisions that I'm making with my head and my heart, the choices that I'm making, I have a pretty good guess of what the outcome is going to be. I feel like if I'm really being honest with myself and really being true to my faith and my wisdom, I feel like I have to let it go. I feel like I have to let go of my control, which is so hard for me to do. So hard for me to do. But I feel like when I do, I can see many more things falling into place and many more things working out. I feel like I'm a lot freer. I'm a lot less stressed. I'm a lot more easygoing. I'm a lot more of a happy person rather than stuck in, why didn't this work out this way? Or, gosh, I just feel like I should be having these prayers answered in Amazon Prime 2-day shipping. But that's not the way it goes. For me, it's definitely control. And then I think I'll go back to tap on, similar to what you both of you girls were saying to a bit, is a little bit of grief to a sense of loss and just the unknowns of where you're going. I feel like when you have grief, it's love that has nowhere to go. I feel like grief is one of my fears. I hate feeling that way. I love to be happy. I love to be feeling my best. And I think that in life, we're all going to experience grief. We're all going to be grieving some sort of things. I feel like after I became a new mom, I was grieving my sense of identity a little bit with just staying at home, not having that career path, that job that I went to every day. And I knew that I was getting a good job, high five. I knew that I could see my sales every day. I feel like those two things, control and grief for me, are some of my biggest fears and anxieties.
When you said giving up control or having control, but then giving it up and feeling like things come into alignment, just a little blurb popped in my head, let it be easy.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
that's hard for those of us who like to control things. It's hard to,
Mhm.
sometimes we're fighting so much to keep that control. And when we are able to step back and just let it be easy, things just, there's a flow that happens. That was a big light bulb for me, Joy. So thank you for sharing that. That's a wisdom light bulb. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, for our next question, Carly, will you kick us off with this one?
Sure.
When do you seek out wisdom you lack, and where do you turn to for comfort?
Mm. Oof. I would say that I am using Google a lot. Yeah. And actually, friends and actually people I wouldn't even say are friends. I just know them through Facebook groups or whatever it is. But people who have gone where I'm trying to go before me using those types of resources for answering questions. I'm thinking specifically about my business stuff. And I reflect back how much I've learned to do that I never would have thought that I would even be interested in doing. And I do find it interesting. I like to learn new things and figure out how to do it. And so that's also been part of my stepping out of my comfort zone journey. And so it depends on the situation. I feel I'm pretty good at using my resources and I always have been. I pride myself on that. I don't always take the easy way out. I do try to figure things out on my own at first, but then I also recognize when I need help and I'm not afraid to ask for it. And that's evolved
That's
for
good.
me. When I was young, it was difficult to say, I can't do this by myself. I need you to help me. That was hard for me to say when I was younger, not so much anymore. And my comfort is definitely my best friend in the whole wide world, which is my husband. So I feel very safe with him, and just a hug from him can solve pretty much anything. And the same with a hug from one of my kids, just a good long hold on to, I love you so much, don't have to say a word kind of hug.
Yes.
The best.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I would definitely agree with that, Carly, that you are a go-getter, an initiator, just have so much self-drive and take on the world.
Thanks.
Okay, Andy, when do you seek out wisdom you lack, and where do you turn to for comfort?
Such a great question. I would say that discomfort, doubt, and failures are probably when I'm like, okay, I need some additional information here. I'm having a hard time processing this, or I just feel like I'm a perfectionist. So trying to be
Mm.
perfectly imperfect. And I would say that's probably when I seek out additional wisdom. And I, of course, seek it out from my amazing friends. So thank you for all of your support and for always being there for me. I also think that music is a really big part of Jake's and my life, and it's a really big part of our story as well. And I've always said that music has always been the unsaid for me. If I can't come up with the words or I can't articulate the feelings, like I always feel like music has always been able to do that. I think we all sometimes we hear a song and it just takes us right back to who we were with or the mood or all of that. And so I think for me, I always sit a little bit with music. And I'm also incredibly lucky that Jake plays the acoustic guitar and he will just break out a song in the living room and it just brightens my day. It was such a big part, of course, of our wedding as well. And Diamonds or Twine by Ryan Hurd was something that he actually played for me maybe 5 days before the wedding, and it became our secondary song as well. So if you haven't heard that, definitely listen to that. That just will move you. Perfect by Ed Sheeran also has a pretty significant meaning to us as well. And that was our song and our first dance on our first date as well. That was all the magic that Jake brought in relation to music. And so I think music for sure has always moved me. It's something that I've leaned on as well. There's a Lauren Daigle song, I Will Trust in You. And it was something that I listened to before I even met Jake. That was when I had to surrender and then continue to surrender and hope and wish and dream that that love would come into my life. And the lyrics, you are my strength and comfort. You are my steady hand. You are my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Your ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go. You haven't already stood. I lean on music a lot to recenter and maybe find some wisdom, or maybe even spark the journaling that helps me get the words outside of me so that I can lean in a little bit more into that wisdom. Another thing that really helps me too is travel. So I can't look at a mountain. I can't, having now gone to Turks and Caicos and seeing how magnificent the ombre turquoise to mint waters were, the Champagne shores, there has to be something larger that creates that. I also think that it puts things into perspective for me as well. So maybe I'm fixated on something and then I see these beautiful, the wind blowing on my face, or where we got married, so magical. And just being in nature, I think helps me center and get outside of myself as well. I would say music, travel, leaning on all of the wisdom around me. My mom, of course, has been an incredible guide to me my entire life, and got so lucky to have her as a mom as well. So I would say those are probably the things that I lean on when I need that additional wisdom, or if I'm just doubting or not able to surrender, those help me gain that perspective.
I love that, Andy. I love that you mentioned nature, and I will agree with you there. To be out in amazing, beautiful places where you get this sense of awe, and you're so small in comparison, and it does give you that expanded feeling of there's more out there. I'm part of a bigger picture.
Yeah, you inspire me with all of your hiking and being in Arizona and all of that. So I love seeing all of that pop up. I'm excited for your Grand Canyon adventure as well, and I hope to be a part of that as well.
That would be amazing. And I am lucky. Arizona is a beautiful state to be in.
Yes.
Gosh, nature. Yes. I feel like that is definitely one of mine. Okay. Thank you, both of you girls, for that insight. I would have to tap into both elements from you. I think resources is huge for me. I come from a big family. So to say that I haven't had influences and resources from a big family when I'm lacking the wisdom would be an understatement. I feel like my family is definitely the first people I go to say, hey, this world's flipping upside down. What's going on? I need help. When I'm out in the fresh air, feeling your hair blow in the wind and the breeze on your face, I just feel like somebody's saying, here's your fresh start. Take a breath, take in all this. So I just can't help but believe that someone greater created all of this, that he wants us to see the beauty in every day and just soak it in and just be reminded that it's okay to keep moving on and to just soak it up and enjoy it. I think another big resource for me, if I'm feeling like I don't know where to turn, is scripture is really comforting to me. It was really comforting to me in finding words for times when I don't know what to say. I don't know, either I myself is going through something personal, a friend is, family is. Sometimes I have to stop and ask myself, okay, what do they want here? Do they want comfort or do they want to solve problems? And I think scripture is a big place where I can go and find those answers. And then also hand in hand with scripture, I feel like asking for guidance with prayer. I feel like when I have that conversation and when I feel like connecting with God, I can have those answers and feel a little more guided or a little more strength in what ways I do need to turn to when I am feeling that lack of wisdom. So those for me are my biggest ways I can find resources.
I love that, Joy. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thanks. And we are so grateful you are here with us, and we would love to hear about what are your own fears and anxieties that you struggle with in your faith and wisdom journey, or when do you seek out wisdom or lack comfort, and where do you turn to? So we'd love for you to reach out to us and hear from you. Drop us a direct message on Instagram at This Is Friendship Podcast and share your wisdom and faith journey with us. We can't wait to hear from you. Hey, give us a follow while you're there.
Bye. See you next week.
See you next week.
Hey, friends. We're wrapping up another episode of This is Friendship. Be sure to check out our website, thisisfriendshippodcast.com.
Hopefully you are leaving feeling inspired and encouraged like one of our best friends.
Before you go, follow or subscribe wherever you listen.